good to also elaborate a little bit on the procedures, because there are misunderstandings of the role of the Ombudsman and the investigative procedures of the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman investigates propriety observed by government, behoorlijkheid, and in accordance with the standards of proper conduct. Once a person files a complaint with us, the first thing we do is we would send an acknowledgement of receipt, and we would tell them how we would proceed. We would inform them that we will first do an intervention proposal to the department, and ask them to, depending on their complaint, to give a decision, make a payment, or to give a response within 1 week. We call that the intervention stage. And once they have responded within the intervention stage, we close the case because you got a response. If you don't, of course, we look with, it must be a motivated response. It must be a motivated response and, addressing your issues. If that is not the case, then we would still say, we would still ask to elaborate. But most of the time it is a motivated response, and then actually we close, we refrain from further investigation. You have persons that, get upset sometimes and say, no, but I didn't tell you to close the case, but what you have to understand is that these are procedures by the Ombudsman, and they are based on the ordinance of the Ombudsman, and people get mixed up with, us being a lawyer, that they can tell us, hey, I want you to proceed. I want you to say this, or I want you to say that. But that is not the role of the Ombudsman. Because before you came to the Ombudsman, you didn't have a response. You didn't get a decision. Now you have a decision. No is also a response. It's also a decision. And if you are not in agreement with that, then you can always object, file an objection, or you can proceed to appeal at the court. That is, we always give those options. Now, if the department doesn't respond within a week, then we would get into the investigation. We would send a notification of complaint to the department, and we would say, hey, this is a complaint. We would have various questions regarding their complaint, and we would actually look at the procedures, because you're going to see if government handled proper. So we would ask those various questions. They get 4 weeks time to respond. If there's not a response received, we also give an extension, a reminder to respond. Sometimes the government also asks us for an extension, or say, hey, we cannot meet the deadline. And even within the intervention proposal time, they would ask for an extension, and we always grant an extension because it is about getting a response. That is what it's about. It's not to have a fight. Once the investigation keeps going, we haven't gotten a response, no information, we will convene a hearing if no response is received. We will convene a hearing. It will be with the minister or anybody else who is able to make decisions. A hearing is to come to a solution, is to come to answers, pertaining to whatever the complaint may be. After that, we will have a preliminary findings report with the findings, and then we will conclude if it was satisfactory. We will conclude with a notification of termination. If it was not satisfactory, we will have a final report. But the problem that we are seeing is that people are oftentimes impatient. I mean, I know they have been waiting a while, but we have procedures that you need to follow. And those are the procedures that we follow, because we heard people out there say, yes, we take long, and we allow the minister extra time, and that is also what we hear. But it is not about that we allowing them extra time. It is about proper procedures, following our procedures, and allowing the minister to give a response. Because at the end of the day, if you do not get a response, then, with the final report, of course, you can go to court, because we will identify what went wrong, the bottlenecks. We will give recommendations to government. and we will tell them that we will ask for a status update. We will allow them also to give their view on our recommendations, if they agree with it or not. If they don't agree, they also have to explain why they don't agree. And we would follow up with them after three months, or sometimes after 6 months. It all depends. Most of the time, it is always put a system in place to respond to the complaints.
Yeah.
Most of the complaints is always that there is no system in place. They didn't see the letter. They didn't receive the letter. You know, something else that I do want to say is, with the ministry, certain ministries then that do not respond or follow up, and then after a long time they would respond. It is good to get an answer, but it is for the person.
Yeah.
It is not a good thing. And what I want to say is that you need to put yourself in the position of the person. If you are ready to build, yes, you ask for a building permit, and you have invested so much and you are ready to build. You have given it. You are waiting so long, and you have asked. You've been going. You even come to the ombudsman. People, this is their finances. You know, they get financial loss. You have persons who are asking for a business license because that is going to be their income. They have to be waiting. So what I want is for the civil service, also the ministers, to know that, hey, there is a person behind a complaint. You know, it's not just a complaint. It's not just paperwork. There is a person that has a need, you know, and you are that department that's supposed to respond and give an answer.
And they don't.
And that is very important, that you know that these are people that we are dealing with. It's not just, you know, oh, this one wants a building. It is a person. They have their investments, you know, and especially, for instance, also with SZV, you know, it's urgent. It has to do with medical. Maybe they need a medical card.
You get a lot of complaints there?
Yeah, we have a lot of complaints, but it is not because, well, let me don't say it like that, but we have had workshop with SZV, and SZV also had a workshop for our office, where they have complied with our recommendations. We have explained, you know, the areas, the bottlenecks where, you know, they have to improve, and they have done that. But I think that people are more aware of coming to the ombudsman when it pertains to SZV, and that's why they come more often, because we do have an increase also in complaints against SZV now.
Really?
Yes.
I've seen quite an improvement in terms of service and information.
Yes.
What
information, provision, and service. Those were the main things, you know, where things could, if you just inform the person correctly, you will help them. You know, you have people, I mean, this person who didn't have their medical card, their wife got sick. Okay, they got a bill. After that, they went to SZV, because SZV had a backlog at that time. But it was a whole back and forth. He ended up coming by the ombudsman. But in between that time, the man getting high blood pressure. Wow. He don't know where he's going to get the money from to pay. You know, he's all I mean, the impact that it has on a person, you know, and then, you know, you pick up the phone, you talk, file a complaint. This was a particular situation, and I was like, you know, why should he have to go through a whole process to file a complaint, while just let the gentleman come, look into his case. But the person said file a complaint, because that way it will be handled quicker. So he still had to go through the process, and eventually
quicker?
Yeah, it happened quicker. And eventually he did, you know, the bill was paid. But it causes enormous stress on the person. He himself had high blood pressure. His pressure was high, you know, and that is not the way. And this is what I really want to also bring across, that there are people behind the complaints. You know, there are persons. And with civil servants, it is good to know that you also are in need of service. because today I am in front of you, but tomorrow you are in front of someone else, and you would want to be treated, you know, correctly. And that is something that I would really want to work on during my term. I would like to really breach the gap between, you know, government and the people, because there is a big gap. The people are somewhere down here, and, you know, government is there, and there is a fear for government, and that shouldn't be. You know, the people should know their rights, and government should understand their role.